The clock on the kitchen wall ticks past 8 p.m., and I'm still sitting here, staring at the table I set hours ago. It's my 38th birthday, and the apartment feels too big, too quiet. I spent the morning arranging everything just right. Clean plates, polished glasses, a centerpiece of white lilies I picked up because they looked hopeful. The bottle of whiskey, my favorite, sits unopened in the middle, its amber glow catching the light from the chandelier. I thought someone would show up. My parents, maybe, or a cousin, or at least Clara. But the doorbell hasn't rung, and the silence is starting to feel like a guest I didn't invite. I lean back in my chair, the leather creaking under me, and try to shake off the weight in my chest. I'm not the type to throw myself pity parties, but this one's hard to ignore. I'm a software engineer, good at fixing problems, breaking things down into logical steps, but I can't debug this. Nobody came. Nobody even called. I glance at my phone again. Nothing. No texts, no missed calls, just a blank screen staring back at me like it's disappointed too. I think about calling Clara. She's been distant lately, always rushing off to meetings or weekends away. But she wouldn't forget today, would she? My thumb hovers over her name, and I hit dial before I can overthink it. The line rings once, twice, then her voice comes through, bright and sharp, like she's mid-laugh. "Liam? Oh, hold on." I hear a muffled sound, then her voice again, clearer now. "Sorry, what's up?" "Hey, Clara, I was just wondering if you were stopping by." "Stopping by? Liam, I'm in Europe with your brother." "Europe with Ben?" The words hit like a punch I didn't see coming. I grip the phone tighter, my knuckles whitening, and try to process what she's saying. She's laughing like it's no big deal, like she didn't just leave me sitting here alone on my birthday. Before I can respond, another voice cuts in. Ben's, smug and smooth as ever. "Why bother, man? She's going to divorce you soon anyway." His words hang there, heavy, like they've been waiting to be said for months. I don't say anything back. I can't. My throat feels tight, and the room seems to shrink around me. Divorce? Is that what this is? Is that why she's been pulling away? Why she's always with him instead of here? I hang up without a word, my hand shaking as I set the phone down. The apartment is quieter now, if that's even possible, and I feel like I'm sinking into the floor. I sit there for a long time, staring at the whiskey bottle, trying to figure out what just happened. My brother, the one who always gets the spotlight, the one who's got more money than sense, is halfway across the world with my wife, and I'm here surrounded by plates nobody's going to use. I think about calling my parents, but I know they're probably at some gala or golf trip, too busy to check in. They've always been like that. Ben is the star, and I'm just the guy who's good with computers. I rub my eyes, tired of feeling like this, tired of waiting for people who don't show up. Then I hear it, a soft knock at the door. My heart jumps just for a second, thinking maybe Clara changed her mind. Maybe someone remembered. I cross the room, my socks silent on the hardwood, and open the door. It's Margaret, my old mentor from university, standing there with a bouquet of daisies and a warm smile that feels like a lifeline. "Happy birthday, Liam," she says, her voice steady, like she's been planning this all day. I step aside, letting her in, and something in me shifts. She's here. She chose to be here. We sit at the table, and she tells me about her new apartment, her retirement, the way she's learning to bake. I pour us both a glass of whiskey, and the burn feels good, grounding. We talk, and for the first time all night, I'm not thinking about who's not here. I'm just here with her, and it's enough. Later, when she's laughing at some story about her cat, I pick up my phone, not to call anyone, not to check for messages, but to take a picture. It's me and Margaret smiling, the whiskey bottle between us, the lilies in the background. I don't think too hard about it. I just send it to Clara. No caption, no explanation, just the photo. Then I turn my phone off and set it face down on the table. I don't need to hear her response, not tonight. I look at Margaret, who's slicing into a lemon pie she brought, and I feel something I haven't in a long time: peace. The silence isn't heavy anymore. It's just quiet, like a blank page waiting for something new. I take a sip of whiskey and let the warmth spread through me. This isn't how I thought my birthday would go, but maybe it's better. Maybe this is the start of something I didn't know I needed. I lean forward, listening as Margaret tells another story. And for now, that's all I want. Just this moment, this table, this glass. The rest can wait.
It's hard to pinpoint exactly when Clara started to slip away from me. But looking back, I think it was around the time we got married. I'm sitting in my office now, months before that empty birthday, staring at a photo of us from our wedding day. She's radiant in her white dress, her smile wide and bright, and I'm standing next to her, a little stiff in my suit, but happy, really happy. I thought she was everything I could ever want. She was elegant, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their heads. As a marketing executive, she had this gift for talking to people, making them feel important, whether it was at a fancy gala or a coffee shop. I'm not like that. I'm quieter, more comfortable behind a computer screen, building software that makes things work better, like systems for hospitals to save time and lives. But Clara, she could charm anyone. And for a while, I thought she'd chosen me because she saw something in me that others didn't. I was wrong. I set the photo down on my desk, rubbing my temples, trying to make sense of how we got here. After the wedding, things changed. Slow at first, then all at once. She stopped asking me how my day went, stopped sitting with me on the couch to watch those old sci-fi movies we both liked. I'd come home from work, my head full of code and deadlines, and she'd be on her phone, texting or scrolling, barely looking up. Just work stuff, she'd say if I asked, but her voice was always sharp, like I was interrupting something more important. I tried to brush it off, told myself she was busy, that her job demanded a lot. But then the weekends started disappearing. She'd pack a bag and say she was visiting friends or going to some networking event, and I'd not wanting to seem clingy. I loved her, and love means trusting, right? But the truth was, I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own apartment. I lean back in my chair, the hum of my computer filling the quiet. I think about Ben, my brother, and how he's been around more lately, not with me, but with her. He's always been the loud one, the guy who throws money around like it's nothing, the one our parents brag about at every family dinner. He's got his real estate deals, his flashy cars, and a way of talking that makes people hang on his words. I'm not jealous of him, not really, but I've always known he gets the attention I never did. Growing up, I was the kid who fixed the family computer, who built apps for fun. But to them, I was just good with tech. Ben was the star, and I was the shadow. So when Clara started spending time with him, calling it family stuff, I didn't question it at first. I wanted to believe it was innocent, that they were just bonding because she was part of the family now. But there was this one night, maybe 6 months ago, that I can't shake. I came home early from a late coding session, and they were in our living room, laughing over glasses of wine. The air felt thick, like I'd walked into something I wasn't supposed to see. "Oh, Liam, you're back," she said, her voice too bright. And Ben just smirked, leaning back on the couch like he owned the place. I mumbled something about being tired and went to bed. But I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I felt so small in my own home. After that, it got worse. She'd mentioned Ben in passing, how he took her to some exclusive restaurant, how he knew all the right people for her career. I'd listen, nodding, trying to be supportive, but each word felt like a brick piling up between us. I started to notice how she'd light up when she talked about him, how her eyes would spark in a way they hadn't for months. I'd ask her to stay home sometimes, maybe have dinner together, but she'd wave me off, saying she had plans, and I'd end up eating alone at the kitchen table,
the TV on just to fill the silence. I'm not proud of it, but I started checking her phone when she was in the shower. Not all the time, just once or twice. The messages weren't blatant, but they were there. Ben sending her memes, her replying with laughing emojis, plans to meet up for drinks. Nothing I could point to and say, this is wrong, but enough to make my stomach twist. I never confronted her. I didn't know how. I'm not the guy who yells or makes a scene. I solve problems logically, step by step. But this wasn't a bug I could fix with a few lines of code.
I look at the wedding photo again, and it feels like it belongs to someone else's life. I loved her completely, quietly, the way I do everything. But now I'm starting to see I was just background noise to her. She wanted the spotlight, and I couldn't give her that. Not like Ben could. I close my eyes, letting the weight of it settle. I don't know what's coming, but I know I can't keep living like this, fading into the walls of my own story. I need to find a way to matter again, to myself if no one else. I'm sitting on the couch in my apartment a week before my birthday, my laptop open but untouched on the coffee table. The screen's gone dark, reflecting my face back at me, and I barely recognize the guy staring back. Tired eyes, a jaw that's been clenched too long. I'm trying to focus on work, some new feature for the hospital software I've been building for years, but my mind keeps drifting to my family, to the way they've always made me feel like I'm not quite enough. It's not a new feeling, but tonight it's sharper, like a splinter I can't ignore. Nobody's reached out about my birthday, not even a text to ask if I'm doing anything special. I keep checking my phone, hoping for something, a message from my mom, maybe, or my dad. But the screen stays empty. It's silly to care this much, I know. I'm 38, not a kid waiting for a party, but the silence feels personal, like they've all decided I'm not worth the effort. I lean back, rubbing my hands over my face, and let my thoughts wander to the past, to all the years I spent trying to fit into a family that never really saw me. Growing up, it was always about Ben. He was the loud one, the charmer, the kid who'd talk his way out of trouble and get a pat on the back for it. I was the quiet one, the one who'd rather take apart a computer than toss a football. My parents didn't know what to do with me. He's just good with computers, my mom would say, like it was a hobby I'd grow out of, not a skill that could change lives. I didn't mind too much back then. I liked my world of circuits and code, where things made sense if you worked at them long enough. But it stung when they'd skip my science fairs to cheer at Ben's soccer games, or when they'd brag about his latest business idea while I was in the next room building software that kept emergency rooms running smoothly. I never said anything. I just kept working, kept proving myself in my own way, thinking maybe one day they'd notice. They didn't. I think about the last family dinner I went to, maybe a year ago. It was at some fancy restaurant Ben picked, all glass walls and overpriced wine. My parents were there, beaming at him as he talked about his new condo development, throwing around numbers like they were confetti. I sat across from them, picking at my food, waiting for a chance to mention the award my team won for the hospital project. It never came. Every time I opened my mouth, Ben would jump in with another story, and my parents would laugh or nod, hanging on his every word. Clara was there too, sitting next to me but not really with me, her eyes on him, her laugh a little too loud. I remember feeling like I was watching a play I wasn't cast in. By the end of the night, I'd barely said 10 words, and nobody noticed. I stopped going to those dinners after that. I told myself it was because I was busy, but the truth is, I was tired of being invisible. I stand up now, pacing the living room, my socks scuffing against the rug. The apartment feels too big tonight, like it's swallowing me whole. I think about calling my mom just to see if she remembers my birthday's coming up, but I can't bring myself to do it. What if she doesn't? What if she brushes it off with some excuse about how busy they are? I've spent so long trying not to care, trying to be the guy who doesn't need their approval, but it's not working anymore. Something inside me feels cracked, like a piece of glass that's still holding together, but won't for much longer. I stop by the window, looking out at the city lights blinking in the dark.
I wonder what it would be like to have a family that shows up, not just for the big moments, but for the small ones too. Like a birthday or a random Tuesday when you just need someone to listen. I've never had that. Even when I was a kid, I'd spend holidays in my room tinkering with gadgets while Ben and my parents made plans without me. I told myself it was fine, that I liked being alone. But now I'm not so sure. Alone isn't the same as lonely, and I'm starting to feel the difference. I think about Clara, how she's been pulling away, spending more time with Ben than with me. I wonder if she's part of this too, if she's decided I'm not worth showing up for either. The thought makes my chest ache, but I push it down, not ready to face it yet. I walk back to the couch and pick up my phone again, scrolling through my contacts. There's nobody I feel like calling, nobody I trust enough to say I'm hurting, and I don't know why it's hitting me this hard. My thumb hovers over Margaret's name, my old mentor from college, but I don't press it. I haven't talked to her in years. And what would I even say? That my family forgot me? That I'm scared my wife's leaving me for my brother? It sounds pathetic, even in my head. I set the phone down and close my eyes, letting the quiet settle over me. This isn't just neglect anymore. It's something bigger, something that's been building for years. It's abandonment, plain and simple, and I don't know how to fix it. All I know is I can't keep waiting for them to change, for them to see me. I need to do something, anything, to stop feeling like this. I open my eyes and look at the laptop again. Maybe work's not the answer tonight, but it's something I'm good at, something I control. I sit down, wake the screen, and start typing, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of code. It's not much, but it's a start, a way to remind myself I'm still here, even if nobody else thinks so. I'm sitting at my desk 2 weeks before my birthday, the glow of my computer screen the only light in the room. The apartment's quiet, like it's been most nights lately, and I'm scrolling through emails, trying to focus on work, but feeling that familiar ache in my chest. Clara's out again, some work event, she said, but I don't ask anymore. I know she won't tell me the truth, and I'm too tired to chase it. My birthday is coming up, and I keep thinking about how nobody's mentioned it. Not her, not my parents, not even a coworker. I don't want a big party or anything, but the idea of another year passing without anyone noticing stings more than I want to admit. I lean back in my chair, running my hands through my hair, and stare at the ceiling. I need to do something different this time, something that feels like it matters. That's when I think of Margaret, my old mentor from college. She was the one person who always saw me, not just as a coder, but as someone with ideas, someone worth listening to. I haven't talked to her in years, not since she moved away after I graduated. But I heard she's back in the city, retired now. My fingers hover over my phone, and before I can talk myself out of it, I find her number and call. She picks up on the second ring, her voice warm and familiar, like no time's passed at all. "Liam, what a surprise," she says, and just hearing her say my name makes me feel steadier. We talk for a bit about her new place, about my job, and then I blurt it out. "I'm turning 38 soon, and I want to have a small dinner, just a few people. Would you come?" There's a pause, and I hold my breath, worried I've overstepped. But then she says, "I'd love to. Tell me when and where." I hang up, feeling lighter, like I've taken a step towards something real. Fast forward to the night of my birthday, and I'm standing in my apartment, the table set with plates I polished myself, the whiskey bottle I picked out weeks ago waiting in the center. The clock's ticking past 7, and nobody's here. Not Clara, not my family, nobody. I've been trying not to check my phone, but I can't help it. Still, no messages, no calls. I called Clara earlier, and she laughed about being in Europe with Ben, his smug voice cutting in about divorce. I hung up, sent a photo with Margaret later, and turned my phone off. That's done now. I'm trying to shake off the hurt when the doorbell rings, soft but clear. My heart lifts just for a second, and I cross the room to open it. There's Margaret, standing in the hallway with a bouquet of daisies and a foil-covered dish that smells like lemon and sugar. "Happy birthday," she says, her eyes crinkling with a smile that feels like home. I step aside, letting her in, and the weight I've been carrying all day starts to loosen. She sets the flowers in a vase I didn't even know I had, chatting about how she's been experimenting with baking since she retired. "This is lemon pie," she says, uncovering the dish. "I hope it's edible." I laugh, the sound surprising me, and grab 2 glasses for the whiskey. We sit at the table, and she raises her glass, looking right at me. "To you, Liam," she says, "to the man who builds things that matter, even when nobody's watching." Her words hit me hard, not because they're fancy, but because they're true. She sees me the way I've always wanted to be seen. And for the first time tonight, I feel like I'm enough. We talk about everything: her teaching days, my latest project, the way the city's changed since we met. She tells me about a student she had who reminded her of me, someone quiet but fierce when it came to solving problems. I tell her about the hospital software, how it saved lives in ways I never expected. It's not bragging, it's just easy with her, like I don't have to prove anything. The whiskey burns smooth, and the pie is better than she gave herself credit for, tart and sweet all at once. Hours pass, and I don't even notice. I'm not thinking about Clara or Ben or my parents. I'm just here, in this moment, with someone who showed up when nobody else did. Later, when we're clearing the plates, I pick up my phone without thinking and snap a photo of us, my arm around her shoulder, and we're both smiling, the whiskey bottle and flowers in the background. I don't plan to send it, it's just for me, a reminder of this night. But then I think of Clara, of her laugh when she said she was with Ben, and I open my messages. I send the photo. No words, just the image. It's not about making her jealous or getting even. It's about closing a door, about saying I don't need her to make this day matter. I turn my phone off again and set it down, feeling a calm I haven't felt in months. Margaret's telling a story about her cat knocking over a plant, and I laugh, really laugh, for the first time all day. The apartment doesn't feel empty anymore. It's just us, this table, this night, and it's more than I thought I'd have. I pour another splash of whiskey and settle back in my chair, letting her voice fill the room. This isn't the birthday I planned, but it's the one I needed, and for now, that's enough. It's the morning after my birthday, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, the remnants of last night still scattered around me. Empty whiskey glasses, a half-eaten lemon pie, the daisies Margaret brought drooping slightly in their vase. The apartment's quiet again, but it's not the heavy kind of quiet from yesterday. It's softer, like the world's giving me a moment to breathe. I pour another splash of whiskey and settle back in my chair, letting her voice fill the room. This isn't the birthday I planned, but it's the one I needed, and for now, that's enough. It's the morning after my birthday, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, the remnants of last night still scattered around me. Empty whiskey glasses, a half-eaten lemon pie, the daisies Margaret brought drooping slightly in their vase. The apartment's quiet again, but it's not the heavy kind of quiet from yesterday. It's softer, like the world's giving me a moment to breathe. My phone's been off since I sent that photo of me and Margaret to Clara, and I'm not ready to turn it back on. I know what's waiting for me. Missed calls, texts, maybe even voicemails, and I don't have the energy to deal with them yet. I sip my coffee, the mug warm against my palms, and think about last night. How Margaret stayed until almost midnight. How we talked about things I haven't said out loud in years. It wasn't just catching up. It was like she was reminding me who I am, the guy who used to dream big before I got caught up in trying to please everyone else. I'm still thinking about her toast, about building things that matter, when my phone buzzes on the counter. I forgot I turned it on for a second to check my work email. I pick it up, and the screen lights up with notifications. 10 missed calls from Clara, then 20, now 30. As another one rolls in, I let it go to voicemail, my thumb hovering over the screen as texts pop up one after another. "Who is she?" the first one reads. Then, "Answer me, Liam, this isn't funny." I stare at the words, and a faint smile tugs at my lips. Not because I'm happy, but because it's so predictable. She's not upset that she wasn't here, not sorry for leaving me alone on my birthday. She's just mad about the photo, about the idea that I might not be sitting here waiting for her. I set the phone down, screen up, and watch it buzz again. Another call, another text, but I don't pick it up. Instead, I think about Margaret, about how she showed up when nobody else did, how she didn't need me to be anything other than myself. We talked about dreams last night, about the ones I used to have before I got married, before I started measuring my life by other people's expectations. I told her how I wanted to build something bigger than software, something that could change how people connect, how they heal. She listened, really listened, and said, "You're already doing that, Liam. You just stopped believing it." Her words stuck with me, like a key turning in a lock I didn't know was there. I get up and walk to the window, looking out at the city waking up. Cars crawling through the streets, lights flickering off in the buildings across from mine. I've been surviving here, not living. I've been going through the motions, working long hours, coming home to an empty apartment, hoping Clara would notice me, hoping my family would remember I exist. But last night, sitting across from Margaret, I realized I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to be the guy who waits for people who don't care if I'm breathing. My phone buzzes again, and I glance at it. Another voicemail, probably Clara yelling or crying or both. I don't listen. I turn it off completely this time, shoving it into a drawer like I'm locking away a distraction. I don't need to hear her voice to know what's real. She's been gone for months, maybe longer, and I've been too stubborn to admit it. I think about Ben, too, about his smug comment on the phone yesterday about divorce, like it's a done deal. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what this has been leading to all along. But if it's over, it's not going to be on their terms. It's going to be on mine. I walk back to the table, picking up the whiskey glasses and carry them to the sink. The routine of washing them, drying them, putting them away feels grounding, like I'm clearing space for something new. I think about Margaret again, about how she talked about integrity last night, about how love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, a commitment to show up even when it's hard. I haven't had that, not from Clara, not from my family, but I had it last night. And that small, warm moment with someone who didn't owe me anything, but chose to be there anyway, that matters. I dry my hands and sit back down, staring at the pie. I cut myself a slice, even though it's barely 9 in the morning, and take a bite. The tartness wakes me up, and I smile, thinking of Margaret's laugh when she warned me it might not be perfect. It is perfect. It's honest. I eat slowly, letting my thoughts settle. I don't know what comes next, not exactly, but I know I can't stay here, in this apartment, in this life, waiting for things to change. I need to move, to build, to find people who see me the way Margaret does. I think about my work, about the software I've poured years into, about the lives it's touched without me ever taking credit. Maybe it's time to step out of the shadows, to stop hiding behind my code, and start owning what I've done. I finish the pie and lean back, feeling a little steadier, the day stretching out in front of me. And for the first time in a long time, it doesn't feel like something to survive. It feels like a chance to start over, to figure out what I want, not what I'm supposed to want. I don't need Clara's calls, or Ben's taunts, or my parents' approval. I need me, my ideas, my strength, my choices. I stand up, grab my laptop, and open a new document. It's not code this time, just a blank page. I don't know what I'll write yet, but it feels right, like the first step towards something I can't name, but know I need. The phone stays in the drawer, and the world stays out there. For now, it's just me, and that's enough. It's been a week since my birthday, and I'm standing in the middle of my apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes. I've been packing all morning. The place looks smaller somehow, stripped of the things that made it mine. Books, framed photos, the coffee mug I always used. I'm moving out, not because I can't afford to stay, but because I can't keep living in a space that feels like a museum of a life I don't want anymore. Clara is still in Europe, hasn't been home since before my birthday, and I'm not waiting for her to come back. I'm done waiting for anyone. I tape up a box of clothes, my hands moving on autopilot, and think about the steps I've taken over the past few days. It started the morning after my birthday when I turned my phone off and decided I needed to take control. I sat at my desk, made a list of what I needed to do, and got to work. First, I backed up all my essential tech projects, years of code, designs, everything I've built for the hospital software and beyond. It's all safe now, stored on a secure drive I keep in a lockbox. I don't know why it felt so urgent, but something told me to protect what's mine. Next, I went online and found a P.O. box in my name, somewhere nobody else knows about. I set up mail forwarding so anything important, bills, work stuff, goes there instead of here. It's a small thing, but it feels like a clean break, like I'm cutting ties with this address, this life. The biggest step came yesterday when I signed a lease on a new place in another city. It's a loft, old and rough around the edges, with exposed brick walls and a view of a river that glints in the mornings. I found it online, called the landlord, and drove out to see it the same day. Standing in that empty space, I could breathe easier, like the air was clearer there. It's not fancy, not like the sleek apartment I'm leaving behind, but it's mine. No memories of Clara, no echoes of Ben or my parents, just a blank slate. I grab another box from the stack in the corner and start packing my books, wrapping them carefully in bubble wrap. Each one feels like a piece of me. Sci-fi novels I read in college, technical manuals I studied to get better at my job, a poetry collection Margaret gave me years ago. I pause, holding that last one, and smile, thinking of her. She texted me yesterday just to check in, and I told her I was moving. "Good for you," she wrote back. "Build something new." That's what I'm trying to do, even if I'm not sure what it looks like yet. My phone's on the counter, still mostly off. I only turned it on for work or to call people I trust. Clara stopped blowing it up with texts, but I know she'll see the divorce papers soon. That's the other thing I did this week. I called Ian Delago, a friend from college who's now a lawyer. We met for coffee a few days ago, and I told him everything. Clara's trips with Ben, the way she's been pulling away, the birthday call where he talked about divorce like it was his idea. Ian listened, didn't judge, just nodded and said, "You want out? I'll make it clean." I told him I didn't want to fight, just a fair split, and he said he'd draw up the papers. They're ready now, sitting in an envelope on my desk, addressed to Clara at her office, since I don't know where she's staying. I wrote a note to go with them. Nothing angry or dramatic, just one line. "You left long before I did." It's true, and saying it, even on paper, feels like letting go of something heavy. I carry a box to the door, stacking it with the others for the movers I hired. The logistics are simple. Most of my furniture is staying since the new place is furnished, and I don't want anything that reminds me of here. I'm keeping my tech gear, my books, my clothes, and a few small things, like the whiskey glasses from my birthday. Everything else can go. I glance around, making sure I haven't missed anything, and spot a photo frame on a shelf, one of me and Clara at a beach last year. I pick it up, studying her smile, and wonder when it stopped being real. I don't feel sad, not exactly, just distant, like I'm looking at someone else's life. I set it down, leaving it, for her to find or not. It doesn't matter anymore. I head to the kitchen, grab a glass of water, and lean against the counter, thinking about what's next. The new city's a few hours away, far enough to feel like a fresh start, but close enough for work if I need to come back. I've got a meeting with my team tomorrow, and I'll tell them I'm working remotely for a while. They won't care. My code's solid, and I've always delivered. But part of me wonders if I'm ready to step up in other ways, to stop hiding behind my work and start owning it. I shake my head, pushing the thought aside for now. One step at a time. I walk back to my desk, pick up the envelope with the divorce papers, and slip it into my bag. I'll drop it off at a courier service later, make sure it gets to her office before she's back from Europe. I don't know how she'll react. Maybe she'll call, maybe she'll show up. But I'm not scared of it anymore. I'm not running away. I'm walking towards something better, something I choose. I grab my keys, take one last look at the apartment, and step outside, locking the door behind me. The hallway's quiet, the air cool against my skin. I feel lighter, like I've shed a layer of something I didn't need. The elevator dings, and I step in, ready to leave this place behind. Whatever comes next, I'm not looking back. I've been in my new city for a week now, and I'm standing in the loft I rented, the morning sun spilling through the tall windows and painting the brick walls gold. The place is still sparse, just a bed, a desk, my tech gear, and a few boxes I haven't unpacked, but it feels right, like I can breathe here. I'm sipping coffee from a chipped mug I found in a thrift store, staring out at the river glinting below, and thinking about how different this feels from the life I left behind. The divorce papers are on their way to Clara. My old apartment's empty, and for the first time in years, I'm not waiting for anyone else's approval. But it's not just the move that's got me feeling this way. It's what I've started to reclaim, starting with my work. Most people don't know I'm the guy behind Aetherius, a data platform that's changed how hospitals share information. It's worth over $80 million now, but I never talked about it, never needed to. I built it quietly, let others take the spotlight while I focused on making it better. That was fine when I thought I had a family, a wife, people who'd see me for more than my code. But now, with nobody showing up for me, I'm starting to see the power in what I've created, not for bragging, but for standing on my own. I set my mug down and walk to my desk, where my laptop's open to an email from an old colleague, Sarah, who runs a tech conference. She's asking me to speak next month, says people are buzzing about Aetherius's latest updates. I haven't done much public stuff before. Ben was always the one charming crowds. But I type a quick reply saying, I'm in. It's a small step, but it feels like claiming something I've ignored too long. I lean back in my chair, thinking about how I got here. A few days ago, I called a couple of industry contacts, people I've worked with over the years. I didn't say much, just checked in, asked about their projects, mentioned I was stepping back into Aetherius's leadership. Word spread fast. By yesterday, I had messages from investors, developers, even a reporter wanting to know the story behind the silent architect. I didn't respond to most of them. I'm not ready for that yet. But it's strange, seeing how people react when they realize I'm the one who built something they rely on. I always thought staying quiet was enough, that the work would speak for itself. Maybe it did, but now I'm starting to think I need to speak for it too. I get up and pace the loft, my boots echoing on the wood floor. There's a memory nagging at me, something from a year ago when Ben tried to get involved with Aetherius. He called it a gold mine, wanted to push for a quick sale, take a cut for himself. I shut him down, told him it wasn't about money, it was about saving lives. He laughed, said I was naive, that nobody cared about nerd stuff unless it came with a big check. I ignored him then, but now I wonder if he's been waiting for a chance to take what I built. He's always wanted the glory without the grind, and I've let him think he could outshine me because I didn't care about the spotlight. Not anymore. I sit back down and open my laptop again, pulling up Aetherius's internal files. I've been out of the CEO role for a while, letting a board handle the big decisions while I focused on coding. But yesterday, I called a meeting with the team, told them I'm stepping back in. Nobody argued. Most of them know I'm the reason the platform works as well as it does. We talked about new features, ways to make it faster, more secure, things I've been sketching out in my head for months. It felt good, like slipping into a jacket that fits just right. I'm not doing it for fame or money, though I won't lie, knowing it's mine, knowing I built something nobody can take away, feels like armor against everything I've lost. My phone buzzes on the desk, and I glance at it. It's Margaret, texting to ask how I'm settling in. I smile, typing a quick reply about the view and the coffee. She's been checking in every couple of days, not pushing, just letting me know she's there. It's strange, having someone care without expecting anything back. I tell her I'm good, that I'm figuring things out, and she sends a thumbs up emoji that makes me laugh. I set the phone down and look out the window again. The city's waking up. People walking along the river, a dog chasing a ball, life moving forward. I think about the people who used to laugh at me. Not just Ben, but colleagues, even some friends who thought I was just a coder, nothing special. They're reaching out now, leaving voicemails, sending emails, acting like we've been close all along. I don't answer most of them. I don't need their validation. I needed it from my family, from Clara, but they didn't give it, and I'm done asking. What I need now is to keep building, not just software, but a life that feels like mine. I close my laptop and grab my jacket, deciding to take a walk. The air outside is crisp, the kind that wakes you up, and I head toward the river, hands in my pockets. I pass a cafe, a bookstore, a guy playing guitar on a bench, and it hits me how much I like it here. Nobody knows me, not as the guy who built Aetherius, not as Ben's brother or Clara's husband, just as me. I stop by the water, watching it ripple under the sun, and feel something settle in my chest. This is my city now, my work, my life. I've spent too long letting other people write my story, but I'm taking the pen back. Whatever comes next, meetings, speeches, maybe even facing Clara when she gets those papers, it's on my terms. I turn back toward the loft, ready to unpack another box, maybe call Sarah about that conference. The world's starting to see what I've built, but more than that, I'm starting to see it myself. I'm sitting in my loft, the late afternoon light filtering through the windows, casting long shadows across the brick walls. It's been a month since I moved here, and the place is starting to feel like home. Books on shelves, a rug I picked up at a market, my tech gear humming quietly on the desk. I'm working on a new update for Aetherius, my fingers tapping out code, but my mind's half on the email I got this morning from Ian, my lawyer friend. He says Clara is back from Europe, and she's furious. The divorce papers hit her office yesterday, and she's already called him, demanding a meeting. I told Ian to handle it, to keep it clean, but I know she won't let this go quietly. I lean back in my chair, rubbing my eyes, and think about what's coming. I'm not scared, not exactly, just ready to close this chapter for good. My phone's been quiet since I changed my number, giving the new one only to people I trust, like Ian and Margaret. Clara doesn't have it, and neither does Ben, which feels like a small victory. I heard from a mutual friend that she showed up at the old apartment last week, found it cleared out, my keys on the counter, and her access to our joint accounts cut off. I didn't freeze them out of spite, I just moved my money to a new bank, left her what was fair, and made sure she couldn't touch what's mine anymore. Ian says she's claiming I abandoned her, that she's entitled to half of everything, but he's confident she won't get far. I stand up, stretching my arms, and walk to the window, looking out at the river. I think about the prenup we signed before the wedding, something Ian insisted on back when I was too in love to think I'd need it. Clara laughed it off at the time, said it was just paperwork, but I'm glad I listened to him. It's clear now she didn't expect me to walk away, didn't expect me to have a spine. I smile faintly, shaking my head. I've spent so long being the quiet one, the guy who fixes things without making a fuss, that she forgot I'm not a doormat. I head to the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water, and think about Ben, too. He's been calling Ian's office, leaving messages, probably thinking he can bully his way into this. I haven't spoken to him since that birthday call when he taunted me about divorce, and I don't plan to. But I did something last week I'm not entirely proud of, though it felt right. I've been digging through old Aetherius files, checking for loose ends, and found emails from Ben to one of our board members pushing for insider deals that looked shady. I didn't hesitate. I sent them anonymously to a contact at the SEC. I don't know what'll come of it, but if he's been playing dirty, he'll face the consequences without me having to say a word. I set the glass down and walk back to my desk, pulling up Ian's latest email. He's prepped for the property hearing next week, says he's got everything we need. Bank statements, the prenup, even security footage from our old apartment building. I didn't know about that last part until he mentioned it. Apparently, the cameras caught Clara leaving with Ben for those weekend trips she always talked about, over and over, long before my birthday. It's not just proof of her being gone, it's proof she was never really there. I don't feel vindictive, just tired, like I'm finally seeing the truth I ignored for too long. I close the laptop and lean back, thinking about what Ian said about the hearing. Clara's going to push for spousal support, maybe even a chunk of Aetherius. But Ian is ready to shut it down. He says the prenup's ironclad, and the footage will make her claims look desperate. I told him I don't want to drag this out, I just want it done. If she walks away with nothing but her clothes and her pride, that's fine by me. She made her choices, and I'm not paying for them anymore. My mind drifts to Ben again, to the rumors I've heard through industry friends. His real estate deals are starting to crumble, and word is the SEC sniffing around. I don't know if it's because of what I sent, but part of me hopes it is. He spent years acting like he's untouchable, like I'm just his nerdy brother who'll never catch up. But I built something real, something that matters, and he can't take that away, no matter how loud he talks. I get up and pace the loft, feeling the wood floor creak under my boots. The hearing is going to be tough. Not because I'm worried about losing, but because it'll mean facing her, maybe him too. I don't want to see their faces, don't want to hear their excuses. I just want to move on, to keep building this life I'm starting to like. I think about the conference I'm speaking at soon, about the new Aetherius features my team's rolling out. Those things matter, not because they're loud or flashy, but because they're mine, and they're good. I stop by the window again, watching the city settle into dusk. I feel a calm I didn't expect, like I'm standing on solid ground for the first time in years. Clara can rage, Ben can squirm, but they don't get to write my story anymore. I'm not the guy who sits quietly while they take what they want. I'm the guy who built an empire nobody saw coming, and I'm not giving it up. I head back to my desk, grab my phone, and text Ian. Do what you need to. I'm ready. Then I set it down and look around the loft. My space, my life. Whatever happens at that hearing, I'm walking out free, and they can't touch that. I open my laptop again, not to work, but to pull up a photo from my birthday, the one with Margaret and me smiling. I don't need to prove anything to Clara or Ben. I just need to keep being the guy in that picture, the one who's starting to believe in himself again. The sun's almost gone now, and the river's a dark ribbon below. I close the laptop and decide to call it a day. Tomorrow's another chance to build, and I'm not wasting it. I'm standing in my loft, the scent of fresh bread and roasted vegetables filling the air as I adjust the candles on the table. It's been months since the divorce papers were signed, since the hearing where Clara walked away with nothing but her designer bags and a scowl. Tonight, I'm hosting a small dinner, not for my birthday or any big occasion, just because I want to. The space feels alive. Warm light bouncing off the brick walls, a soft hum of music from a guitarist friend I met at a local cafe. Laughter already starting to spill from the few guests who've arrived. I've got a bottle of whiskey open, the same kind I shared with Margaret on my birthday, and a spread of food I helped make, though I'll admit the bread's from a bakery down the street. I'm not a chef, but I'm learning, and it feels good to try something new. I glance around, taking it all in. Margaret's by the window, chatting with Ian, my lawyer friend, who's holding a glass of wine and grinning like he's never seen me this relaxed. There's a couple of local musicians setting up in the corner, tuning their guitars, and a neighbor I've gotten to know, a painter who's always got a story to tell. It's a small group, maybe 10 people, but they're here because they want to be, because they see me, not some version of me they wish I was. I adjust a plate on the table, feeling a nervous energy I haven't had in a while. Not bad nerves, just the kind that comes when you're doing something that matters. I think about the past year, how it started with that empty birthday, nobody showing up except Margaret. I was so lost then, sitting in an apartment that felt like a cage, waiting for Clara, for my family, for anyone to care. I don't feel that way anymore. The hearing was the turning point, when Ian laid out the prenup and the footage of Clara leaving with Ben week after week. She tried to argue, said I pushed her away, but the judge didn't buy it. She left with what she brought into the marriage, her clothes, her jewelry, her ambition, and I walked out feeling lighter than I had in years. Ben didn't show up to the hearing, probably too busy dodging the SEC investigation I tipped off. Last I heard, his deals were falling apart and he's laying low. But I don't care enough to keep tabs. That's their world now, not mine. I pour myself a splash of whiskey and take a sip, the burn familiar and comforting. The guitarist starts playing a slow melody, and I catch Margaret's eye across the room. She smiles, raises her glass, and I nod back, grateful for her. She's been a constant these past months, not just a mentor, but a friend. Someone who reminds me it's okay to be quiet, to build things slowly, as long as they're real. I think about the letter I wrote a while back, one I never sent to my family. I pull it out sometimes, read it to myself. But tonight, I want to share it. Not because I need to prove anything, but because saying it out loud feels like letting go of the last piece of that old hurt. I clear my throat, stepping to the center of the room, and the chatter quiets down. Hey everyone, I say, my voice steadier than I expect. I just want to say thanks for being here. This year's been a lot, and having you all in my life means more than I can put into words. I wrote something a while ago, something I needed to get out, and I'd like to read it, if that's okay. Nobody objects, just nods or smiles, and I pull the folded paper from my pocket. My hands shake a little, but I unfold it and start reading. To my family, I never needed you to be proud. I only needed you to show up. You didn't, and now neither will I. The words hang in the air, simple but heavy, and I look up to see Margaret wiping her eyes, Ian giving me a small nod. Nobody claps or makes a big deal, and I'm glad. They just listen. And that's enough. I fold the paper and slip it back into my pocket, feeling like I've set down something I've carried too long. Anyway, I say, breaking the silence, let's eat. That gets a laugh, and the room comes back to life. People grabbing plates, passing dishes, talking over each other. I sit at the table next to Margaret and listen to the painter tell a story about a mural he's working on. The food's good, better than I expected, and the whiskey flows, but it's the warmth in the room that fills me up. I think about Aetherius, how I spoke at that conference last month and felt for the first time like I belonged in the spotlight. People asked questions, wanted my thoughts, and I realized I had something worth saying. I'm not Ben, all charm and flash, but I'm me, and that's starting to feel like enough. The night stretches on, and I'm laughing at something Ian says about his latest case when I catch my reflection in the window. I don't look like the guy from a year ago, the one who sat alone waiting for a call that never came. I look like someone who's building something, not just code, but a life, with people who choose to be here. The musicians play a new song, something upbeat, and a few people start dancing, clumsy but happy. I stay at the table, watching, and Margaret leans over, her voice low. You did good tonight, Liam. I smile, not sure what to say, but I know she's right. This is good, messy, real, mine. I raise my glass and we toast, to new beginnings, to nights like this, to people who show up. The music keeps going, the candles burn low, and I let myself sink into it. No regrets, no looking back. Just this moment and the promise of more. I wake up to the sound of birds outside my loft window, a soft chirping that's become my morning routine in this new city. It's my 39th birthday, and I'm lying in bed, the sheets cool against my skin, watching the first light creep across the brick walls. There's no weight in my chest today, no anxious checking of my phone for messages that won't come. I feel steady, like I finally landed somewhere I belong. I roll over, grab my phone from the nightstand, and see a few texts already. Margaret wishing me a happy birthday, Ian joking about getting old, a couple of colleagues saying they're looking forward to the next Aetherius update. I smile, typing quick replies, and get up to start the day. The loft smells like coffee before I even reach the kitchen, thanks to the machine I set up last night. I pour a cup, the mug warm in my hands, and lean against the counter, thinking about how different this birthday feels from last year. Back then, I was sitting in an apartment that felt like a tomb, waiting for Clara, for my family, for anyone to show up. Nobody did, except Margaret. And that night changed everything. Now I'm here, in a life I built from scratch, and it's better than I could have imagined. I take my coffee to the window, looking out at the river sparkling under the morning sun. Margaret moved into a cottage a few blocks away a couple of months ago, and we've settled into a rhythm. Weekly dinners, walks by the river, conversations that don't need to be anything more than what they are. She's not family, not in the way most people mean it, but she's home, the kind of friend who shows up without being asked. I think about inviting her over later, maybe cracking open that whiskey we both like, but for now, I'm content to stand here, letting the day unfold. My phone buzzes again, and I check it. A message from a teacher at the middle school where I sponsor a coding club. She sent a photo, and when I open it, my breath catches. It's a group of kids, maybe 12 or 13 years old, standing in a classroom holding a banner that reads, "Thank you, Mr. Ross. You made us believe we could build something too." They're grinning, some holding laptops, others waving at the camera, and I can't stop smiling. I started the club on a whim, thinking I could share what I know, but it's become more than that. Those kids remind me of myself at their age, tinkering with computers, dreaming of things nobody else understood. I text the teacher back, thanking her, and save the photo to my phone. It's the best gift I could have gotten, better than any party or bottle of wine. I set the phone down and head to my desk, where my laptop's waiting. I don't have any big plans today, no meetings, no deadlines, just a few ideas for Aetherius I want to sketch out. The platform's growing faster than I expected, with hospitals across the country signing on, and I'm starting to mentor a few young developers who reached out after my conference talk. I don't feel like the silent architect anymore. I'm just me, doing what I love, and it's enough. I think about Clara for a moment, but it's fleeting, like a shadow passing over the sun. I haven't heard from her since the hearing, and I don't expect to. Last I heard, she moved to another city, chasing some new marketing job. Ben is out of the picture too, tangled up in legal trouble after the SEC dug into his deals. My parents sent a card a while back, not for my birthday, just a generic note about keeping in touch. I didn't reply. I don't hate them, but I don't need them either. I've got people who show up, and that's more than I ever had before. I sip my coffee, letting the warmth spread through me, and think about the kids in that photo again. I want to do more for them. Maybe expand the club, get them better equipment. I jot a note to call the school next week, see what they need. It's not about being a hero. It's about giving them what I wish I'd had. Someone who believed in me before I believed in myself. The morning stretches on, and I decide to take a walk before it gets too warm. I grab my jacket, step outside, and let the city wrap around me. Bikes whizzing by, a street vendor selling fruit, the hum of life that's become familiar. I pass the cafe where I met the guitarist who played at my dinner party, wave at the bookstore owner sweeping her steps. This place knows me now. Not as anyone special, just as the guy who lives by the river, who stops for coffee and says hello. I end up at the water's edge, sitting on a bench, watching the current move slow and steady. I think about Margaret's toast on my last birthday, about building things that matter. I'm doing that, not just with code, but with this life. Friends, a community, a purpose that feels bigger than me. I don't need apologies from Clara or my family. Don't need their approval or their regrets. I've got what I need right here, in this moment, and the choices I make every day. My phone buzzes one more time, and it's Margaret again, asking if I'm free for dinner. I text back, telling her to come over, that I'll grab that whiskey and maybe some of that pie she's so good at making. She replies with a smiley face, and I laugh, pocketing the phone. I stand up, stretch, and start walking back to the loft, the sun climbing higher, the birds still singing. The day is mine. And so is the life I'm living. No calls to wait for, no bottles to uncork alone. I'm home, and as I head up the stairs to my door, I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.